roadblocks and seamless connectivity is not there. There has to be minimum a 1 hour journey from Mopa airport to other destinations, hotels. So I urge action to be taken in order for Goa to become world tourism, and our vision should be that it will be much greater than most resort destinations of the world, including Bali we were discussing earlier. Thank you, Mr. Banerjee.
Thank you, Mr. Khanna. Let me also take this opportunity of welcoming Chairman GTDC, Dr. Ganesh Gaonkar, sir. Welcome to the dais. We'll now have a short presentation about what's been happening. You've heard, of course, Mr. Banerjee also highlight some of the things that we've been doing. But we thought it's a good opportunity to tell you, all of you, what's been happening in Goa in the past few years, and especially in the past 100-150 days of this new government. A lot of initiatives have been taken up. That should also set the tone for our discussions, where we want to do an open Q&A session. So, I don't need to preach to the choir. So, of course, Goa has been a vibrant tourist destination. We've received multiple awards, including the award from WTTCII Hotelivate State ranking as the best destination. And from a tourism product standpoint also, right from beaches, which is very, very popular in Goa, we also have heritage, pilgrimage, hinterland tourism, which is coming up. So Goa is a destination for all seasons and for all categories of tourists. We did attract more than 8 million tourists during pre-COVID times, and I'm sure the industry here would agree that Goa has seen some of the best post-COVID progress and the best jump from all other destinations across India. In fact, if you were to look at headlines in the past 2 months, we've had the fastest recovery from post-COVID, where the occupancy has revived to about 70% for category A and B hotels. We have had the maximum demand for hotels if you compare to last year, with growing by about 118%. One sector, because we also have a lot of stalwarts from the aviation industry. So the Delhi-Goa air route saw 2.07 lakh seats being sold in June 2022 compared to 1.66 lakhs in the same period last year. So there are green shoots, as I mentioned at the start of the presentation, that we are seeing. From a demographic perspective as well, we've seen that Goa has been both popular with domestic and international tourism. In fact, due to its popularity with domestic tourism, the impact of COVID and the impact of non-issuances of visa for the past 1.5 to 2 years had, did not impact Goa as badly as it has some of the other destinations. I know a lot of you are looking forward to Mopa being the new gateway. Mr. Khanna also mentioned with reduced times, etc. at Dabolim, that has remained a challenge. So Mopa is going to be a game changer, and it's going to bring about a paradigm shift from tourism standpoint of Goa. And with 2 airports operating at key strategic locations within the state, I think it is just opening up all the markets to us. Especially because Mopa, Dabolim as an airport, given its limitations, was not able to have direct connectivity to a lot of domestic and international destinations. With Mopa, we're looking at connecting at about 31 domestic destinations and about 14 international destinations in the first year and a half of operations. So that opens up an absolutely new paradigm for tourist arrivals in the state of Goa. What that also does is, and that is where I think the industry would agree with me, is that the availability of hotel rooms, especially in the categories that all of you represent, is not going to grow as fast as we're hoping that the Mopa airport and the new change in tourist outlook is going to grow. So there is a huge amount of demand surplus which is going to be generated, and which I believe that as the tourism industry here, we should be looking to address. So from a tourist arrival of about 4.8 million at the Dabolim airport, we're looking at about 12 million from MOPA alone. So that's about approximately 2.5, 3 times increase at MOPA and double him added on top of that. So that capacity has to be occupied with rooms, with hotels and with other activities where people can come and enjoy Goa as a destination. What's also heartening to see is, and it's also a factor of the demand and supply mismatch, that Goa has been doing the highest ARR in the country. We're doing about 7,500 rupees as per the Hotelivate report last year, which is of course one of the best in the country. And from an occupancy perspective also, Goa was the state which was doing the best occupancy even during COVID times. So there is a huge amount of supply mismatch which exists, and which is where we believe that Goa is going to be the next destination from a tourism investment standpoint. So now, I had the pleasure of interacting with a few of you before we started this conversation, and the question that was posed to me is, what are you going to give us if you want to invest? And therefore the department is in fact forward-looking, especially under the guidance of the Honourable Minister, the Honourable Chairman. There are multiple initiatives which have been taken by Department of Tourism. So first is robust policies. As all business people, and I have the pleasure of being on both sides of the table here, advising the government and of course being part of a private business myself. Policies and institutional frameworks are what bring stability to businesses. So we are getting into robust policies. There were already the tourism master plan, the tourism policy which has led to the formation of tourism board, where we have 50% of private sector partnership, with 50% of the members of the board are from the private sector. There is a beach shack policy which had come up in 2019, water sports policy, and so on and so forth. What are we doing now? Well, there is a new Goa Tourism Trade Act, which is re-looking at all the acts, all the regulations, etc., which have been put into place on how can we do things better for the industry. The second is integrated beach management policy. A lot of you have hotels around the beach. A lot of you are catering to tourists who want to go to the beach. And there are challenges. The state government recognizes that. And as part of the policy, we are trying to address most of these challenges. There's also beach shack policy, homestay policy, Airbnb becoming very, very popular. There has to be a specific homestay policy which comes into play so that the local people also get employment. Tourism helpline and tourism police. In my interaction with a few of you, you had highlighted that safety and security remains a concern. That's something that is being addressed by the state government as well. The industry status to tourism. And this exists since 2001, but nothing major has happened on it. So we are re-looking at it, and we are re-looking on what exactly are the kind of incentives which should be offered to the industry to make the tourism industry in Goa robust. And finally, relaxation of a lot of registration rules as part of EODB, which I would also be getting into in detail. So the first thing is the master plan and policy. And from the original branding, which was a very, very limited idea, now Goa is looking at quality tourism. I'm sure all of you have had, and all of you have read articles of over-tourism, domestic tourists creating ruckus, and so on and so forth. So how do we address that? Our idea is to get high-value foreign and domestic tourists, while also getting responsible budget tourists. Budget is not a sector that you can ignore, because budget is always going to be, it's the fortune at the bottom of pyramid paradigm. So budget tourists is going to be there, but how do we get and attract more responsible budget tourists? So the state government in itself is now going to be focusing on responsible tourism. Therefore, there's a realigned tourism vision, which is more towards sustainability, employment generation, and opportunities of economic prosperity. From a narrower branding of sun, sand, and sea and low-value tourism, we're moving to a new paradigm of high-value tourism. The way that we're going to do it is by focusing on areas where we're looking at low-impact, high-value tourism, say, for example, in south of Goa. We're looking at ultra-luxury somewhere in north of Goa. We're looking at a mid-budget segment in the central part of Goa. So there are things which are being planned accordingly, and the infrastructure is going to be created which is going to be in line with this entire vision. So Goa not only is limited to the beaches, right? So we need to move away from the sun, sand, and sea, and that needs to come about from the industry standpoint as well. So our outlook is that it is a doorway to multi-layered heritage. So the department has agreed on 7 focus areas. Eco and nature being our primary push. Goan waters, both coastal and backwaters in our rivers. Heritage and culture, adventure, MICE tourism, leisure and entertainment, and of course wellness and medical, which is coming up as a major theme, especially post-COVID. The department's also been putting money where the mouth is. So it's not only that this is just a planning exercise. We've been doing things like redevelopment of the Aguada Lower Fort, which used to be the central jail, with money of upwards of 30 crores being pumped into it. There's a digital museum which is being planned there. From a heritage and culture standpoint, there are more than 140 crores of government projects which are already underway. Under eco and wellness, we've done something like an eco label, we're doing e-bikes, etc. Goan waters beyond the beach are being leveraged with cruise vessels coming up very, very soon. Nautical tours are being done which promote education and responsible exploration of the sea and the rivers. As I mentioned, Aguada Lower Fort Central Jail, which was inaugurated by the Honorable Prime Minister last year, is going to become a major tourist destination in itself. So the idea is to create iconic heritage destinations also within the state. So the state's invested about 340 plus crores in just core infrastructure creation in the past 5 odd years, and about 566 crores of all across tourism projects which have also got inputs from private sector have been executed. Something like solar lights have been put up everywhere, CCTV cameras, toilets, tourist information centers. What also happened was COVID, and we can't really forget the past 2 years that COVID had an impact. So we came out with schemes to support the industry during that period of time. We had a tourist guide certification scheme. We had a village development scheme, again with the outlook that we want tourists to explore the Goan culture and heritage and get them to explore the villages that Goa has. We had a tourist trade working capital subvention scheme. Also charter, which used to constitute a major portion of the business that Goa was seeing from a foreign tourist arrival. A charter waiver of landing fees scheme was also launched last year. So proactively measures are being taken or feedback that we get from the industry. One of the key reasons of holding a meeting like this is that we need feedback from you on how we can do things better together for the state. So the general idea of taxis, I'm sure all of you would have known and all of you would have experienced it yourself as tourists that taxis are a challenge. So the department has proactively taken steps under the leadership of Honorable Minister, where the Department of IT is also trying to create a taxi aggregation app, which is going to help the local people get on one single window to actually get taxis. The state is also in active discussions with private sector players like Ola and Uber. Connectivity. Mr. Khanna also mentioned connectivity is a challenge as on date. But there are multiple infrastructure projects which are in play. When the final corridor of Mopa is done, it will take about 45 to 60 minutes to reach from Mopa to any destination within Goa. Now that's as per international standards. Any international airport, you have to travel about 45 to 60 minutes to get to the main city. So these are some of the things which are already in play. From an ease of doing business, a lot of you who own businesses or who started businesses have always been troubled by the number of permissions, etc., which are required. And we've recently come out with a notification which has reduced that substantially. So in the last 100 days, and I just spent a couple of minutes on this, from hotels where we required 9 permissions for you to just kickstart. Now that those permissions for new hotels have been brought down to 3. For renewal from 4, it's been brought down to 0. Now that's the kind of ease of doing business that we're trying to implement and trying to get in place. The Honorable Minister has just been working tirelessly towards this along with the Chairman GTDC, and this has just been notified, I think, a couple of days ago. So this is going to help all of you start new businesses, and whenever your licenses are up for renewal for all of these categories, I've listed 12 of them. Whenever we're looking at renewal of licenses or new businesses, there is an ease of doing business element which has been brought in by the government. So now, the sales pitch. Of course, Goa is primed to be a premier destination. We are looking at an increase by 2x, 3x of the tourist arrivals. So there are investment opportunities that the government wants the private sector to come in. So these are some of the few PPP opportunities across hospitality and wellness. We're looking at a 3-star hotel in Benolim. Of course, details will be shared with all of you. We're looking at a wellness resort in Farmagudi. This is a huge piece of land, about 134,000 square meters of land. Because again, wellness becomes a key aspect if you want to have an year-round destination. Especially post-COVID, we've seen that people are very, very cautious about wellness. Again, a 3-star hotel in Kolva. This is right on the beach front. A 3-star or higher hotel at Mapsa City Hotel, right in front of the bus stand in Moscow. Again, very, very heart of the city, very close to all the major transportation hub. In Mahe, there's a beautiful lake which exists in Mahe. Those of you who are not from Goa, I would suggest that you please do visit it once. It is also part of some of the famous folk songs of Goa. And we want to do an eco resort or a heritage theme park or something like that there. Again, the idea is to make these destinations which have always attracted a lot of tourists, to give them their own look and feel and attract a higher level of tourists than what we've been attracting so far. A wellness and eco resort in Anjane Kedi. In fact, this RFP is live. If somebody is interested, my team would be more than happy to share the details. We're also working and getting a lot of money from the central government. Ministry of Tourism has been helping us. There's a new convention center coming up in Ruadeoran. This is in the heart of Panjim city. This is being developed by Goa Tourism Development Corporation. So we would be looking at the industry to come up and be partner with the department for operation and maintenance of this. There is development which is happening at Basilica Bom Jesus, which attracts a lot of tourists. We again have exposition in the coming years, which is going to attract a lot of pilgrimage tourists also. In Kolva, south of Goa, we have the iconic scheme, which is going to be about 400 crores of investment. There's a digital museum which is being planned at the Agwada jail. It's going to be one of its kind, again, an international level digital intervention where people can come and explore and understand the heritage of Goa. There's restoration and upgradation of forts. There's an eco and wellness park, eco and nature education park, which is coming at Salali Dam, again in the hinterlands, again exploring the natural side of Goa. And we're also doing, and I was part of a conversation with the industry again, the kind of talent that we attract now as an industry, and I'm an ex-hotelier myself, I've also passed out of an hotel school, so I can imagine the kind of talent that we're able to attract today is not what it used to be 20 years ago. So Goa understands that, and we want to empower the youth of Goa to be Atmanirbhar as the Honorable Chief Minister's vision is. Therefore, Goa is also coming up with its own Atmanirbhar Goa Hospitality and Skill Development Academy, which is going to be training local youth and other youth across the country for the industry to be able to have employable youth, which they can employ at all of these tourism activities. There's a terminal building. There is always a lot of demand from the industry to have a nice terminal building for the domestic cruise, the evening cruise, which is very popular tourist attraction. That's coming up on Santa Monica Jetty. There's a mono cable detachable ropeway which is coming up in Panjim, which again is going to become an iconic destination by itself. People would want to visit it. So there are also permanent venues, and Goa has been known for its events, as an event destination. So the governments realize that you need to have some infrastructure to back all of these events, right? Otherwise, it becomes a challenge whenever these events are happening. So there are venues which are being planned, which will have all the core infrastructure to have these events all around the year. And we're also curating a year-round events calendar, which will have tourists, which will allow tourists to do something or the other whenever they're visiting Goa. Adventure tourism. All of us have had after COVID, this zeal of exploring nature. Experiential tourism, as per surveys which were conducted by KPMG, is also one of the major buying decisions now. So from a niche experiential tourism perspective also, there are things that we've already done. For example, we have the bungee jumping here, again at Mahe Lake. So any one of you wants to visit there and also experience bungee, that's the place for you. We've got e-bikes. In fact, Goa was one of the first places to start e-bikes. And we've got these e-bike tours, which are curated tours that happen. Whitewater rafting. Now that's something that you would think of Rishikesh, but Goa has some of the best whitewater river rafting during monsoons. Something that you can try again. Motorized paragliding, scuba diving. These are all things, experiential tourism products that Goa Tourism Development Corporation has developed. There are multiple others which are being curated as we speak, including bicycle tours, floaters, cruise vessels, underwater scooters, and so on and so forth. There are also other experiences which are in play. And here again, we would want the inputs from the industry, and we want the industry support to curate some of these experiential tourism things. The department is going to come and assist you to actually go ahead and implement it in whatever is required to make Goa a year-round destination and a very well-rounded destination. So with that, I would finish my monologue. The punchline is there for you to discover Goa and find yourself. And the idea is that, again, from a sun, sand and sea, we want it to be a more holistic, a year-round destination, a destination that attracts both domestic and international tourists. And given the fact that now we have an airport which is probably not going to have limitations that Double M had, we're going to attract more and more tourists while continuing with Double M and probably attract 16 to 20 million tourists just by air. So we're looking at from an 8 million to about 16 to 20 million just by air. I think the sky is the limit. So thank you so much. That's all with my presentation. I would now like to request Honorable Chairman GTDC, Dr. Ganesh Kankar, to say a few words and address the Hey, I request Shri Ravi Dhawan, Secretary Tourism, Government of Goa, to say a few words.
Thank you, Allah. Good evening to everyone. Honorable Tourism Minister, Honorable Chairman GTDC, Chairman and Secretary General of the WEBTV, the industry leaders who have joined us here today. The presentation itself was extremely comprehensive and holistic in terms of laying down the vision that Goa tourism aims to achieve in the coming few years. So I don't have too much to add except to reinforce the message that government actively is behind the tourism sector as one of the sectors that will take Goa's economy and people forward. As a destination, particularly domestically, Goa sells itself. And our mission, as outlined by the government of the day and Honorable Minister himself, is to take this penetration forward, to move up the value chain while retaining its basic character. We are cognizant of some of the problems that Goa as a destination faces. They have been outlined in the presentation also, and we are working quite actively towards resolving each and every one of them. We look forward to the partnership that industry can provide. No longer government remain just the regulator and know-it-all. We are extremely cognizant of the fact that the stakeholders have a huge stake in the development of the destination, and we would like all the stakeholders give us concrete suggestions to help resolve some of the issues that we face, and to also help us market the state of Goa in a better manner. The next 2 decades belong to India, to the Indian economy and to the Indian people. Demographic dividend is something we all keep hearing, but we would actually be reaping it if both the government and the industry come together, get its act right, and move ahead in the manner that we have envisaged. Goa goes beyond just sun, sand and sea. There is too much and more to offer, and hopefully today's interaction with all of you will help throw more light on whatever has been just said by Allah. I thank you all for coming down from various parts of India for this interaction with us, and hopefully it will be a very meaningful one, and there can be some more such regular interactions wherein we can also review and assess whatever has been achieved and have we gone forward. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to request the Honorable Chairman, Dr. Ganesh Thakur, to say a few words to the gathering. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Sagat Namaskar. On the dais, Honorable Minister Goan Reporter, Secretary Tourism Ravi Dhawanji, Sujit Banerjee, Dinesh Khannaji, our MD, Nikhil Desai, and all my guests, Goan guests as well as those who have come from all over India. Actually, as rightly said by Dhawanji, that everything on behalf of GTDC is already presented to you. And as a chairman of GTDC, to place before you, I don't have anything. Because all plannings is made under the consultant, which is placed before you. Actually, I would be very happy to hear from you your suggestions, how we can improve the services to the guests. Actually, post-COVID, Goa has done a very good thing. We would request you, all the guests and all the investors, to come forward to Goa to invest in the tourism sector. Actually, with the coming of MOPA, we can tell you only one thing, that total Goan diameter is 99 kilometers. So, you can travel in 60 minutes any corner of Goa. And earlier actually people were thinking Goa is only a beach destination, is the tourist place. It is not like that. I will tell you only one thing. Those who might have seen this Chennai Express cinema, in that you will see one waterfall. That is Dussagar waterfall. And because of Chennai Express, it has become famous. Now during season, every day 2,000 tourists come there to see only waterfall. We are also under planning that we are going to increase all the facilities there. And once these things happen in the hinterland, you will get free of cost pure oxygen. If we are going to the hinterlands, we need not pay anything to get the 100% pure oxygen, because it is in the vicinity of jungle. You might have seen here on the presentation that the area covered under jungle and other things is around more than 60% in Goa. So what I would suggest to you people as a guest, you have to give the suggestions, and this particular GTDC is a commercial arm of the Department of Tourism in Goa State. And I am sure that with the thoughts and initiative of our Tourism Minister Rohan Kauteji, as well as Chief Minister Dr. Pramod Sawantji, will be able to take Goa to the heights in the tourism sector. So, giving me this opportunity before you, I am very thankful to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. May I now request Honorable Tourism Minister Shri Rohan Kauteji to address again.
A very good evening to all of you. Shri Dinesh Khannaji, the Chairman of WTP CIA, Secretary General of Friend Sujit, my friend, the MLA from Savarde constituency and the Chairman of Goa Tourism Development Corporation, Shri Ganesh Gaonkar, Secretary of Tourism, Shri Ravi Dhawan, Director, Shri Nikhil Desai, all my friends from the industry, electronic media, press, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, a warm welcome to all of you to our state of Goa. I hope everything is comfortable for the people who have travelled. This land is normally used for people who are not from the hotel industry. But you being there, hospitality is already there, something which you guys already have in offering. Goa as a state wouldn't need more introduction. We have always been a preferred destination. Today we are trying to be taking an initiative towards more responsible tourism. We are trying to reinvent Goa. We are trying to look at how we can take Goa to the next level. Because when we start realizing the economics as a state or as a government, we need to have our fundamentals right. One, which we look as the revenue to the state. Second is what we look as the employment to the state. When it comes to revenue to the state and employment to the state as a thumb rule, and we start re-looking at the whole scenario, and we start looking at the numbers. First and foremost, in terms of being an economic churner, tourism, although has been one of the biggest backbone of the industry, as far as Goa is concerned, it contributes to about 16.43% as of today to the GDP of the state. When it comes to employment, opportunities in terms of locals getting employment has always been a political pitch and also a requirement in terms of defining and creating these opportunities for our people in the various industries that which we have, whether it's tours, travels, hotels, other industries, name it. When we talk about numbers, we can proudly boast about the numbers which Alap showed, that we had 72 lakh domestic tourists in 2019 and 9 lakh 31,000 tourists, international tourists coming in. But when we come down to the economic factor of it, try to understand what is the per capita spend, there is a huge scope of improvement that we as a government need to work upon. And that's why we look at a very investor-friendly environment which we need to create. Our Chief Minister also talks about Atmanirbhar Bharat, Swayam Goa. And we are in a phase of defining tourism 2.0. This tourism 2.0 is not only going to be the sun, sand and sea. As a IT minister, we have added sun, sand, sea and software. Because we are coming with a different concept which can also add to the value of tourism. When we talk about getting co-working spaces on the beach, we are talking about sort of shacks coming on the beach side where you have all the amenities from a shower to coming and sitting and doing a plug and play activity where the guy can come, work, go and down the beach, do some water sports, chill out on the pier, come back, do his work again. Because we believe there is a lot of creativity naturally in the Goan space, and that's what a lot of people internationally and domestically come here for. Now we need to see how best we can do it so that we can increase the per capita spend. Like my friend Ganesh said, MOPA is coming in. And in the past we have said, in the 80s, Advaniji was there. He will agree to what I have to say. Chogam was a game changer for the state. In terms of the whole thought process, Goa changed after Chogam. MOPA is going to be the next game changer. We are talking about a number of people coming as tourists, roughly to the estimates what you gave about 4.6 million. We are already doing about 4.1 million at the Double Airport. We are talking about an inventory of about 80,000 rooms. And that immediately calls for a place where we need to have a check button press to ensure that whether we have the inventory in tune with the requirements of the travelers that are going to come internationally and domestically. And then inside we start thinking of how we can start changing the thought process from sun, sense and sea to ecotourism, going to the hinterland, talking about adventure tourism, talking about wellness, talking about many categories where those type of people who would want to come and be here for. One question arises is what is a tourist looking for? To my knowledge and what I have been told, the thought of a tourist has changed. A thought of a traveler has changed. He is no longer the conventional traveler who starts thinking on where he wants to go. He is not the guy who starts thinking that he has to be directly connected to the location. Today there are people who jump on a connecting flight, on long hauls. You have people who know why they are coming somewhere. Today you have the next millennial category who know where to spend and why to spend and what they want to do. And this is something which we need to understand from you guys, understanding that how is the industry changing, what are the learnings that government needs to take, what are the things that we need to do from our side to ensure that we have a win-win situation when we talk about improving our economic conditions, creating a business-friendly environment for you guys, and ensure that the tourist who comes here goes back with nostalgic moments and memories, which he also becomes the biggest ambassador for us. Every state, every part of the country, whether it's domestically, whether it's in India or abroad, have their own challenges. We keep hearing about taxi issues, we keep hearing about many issues. And this is not only predominantly only in Goa as a part of the whole world. This is there in many parts of the countries. You guys have traveled, we have traveled. We know that it is there. But we need to tackle it. And we are in the mode of ensuring that these things are required. One thing we have understood under Dr. Pramod Sawant as the Chief Minister, that technology cannot be kept aside and we cannot keep walking. We need to go along with technology. We need to take it together. At the same time, when we have a very small populace of people who are dependent on this economy, how to make it inclusive. The thought already has started. As an IT minister, we have already started developing a thought of an aggregator which can take care not only in terms of giving that vertical the right direction, but also ensure that we as a government are able to back up the system proactively. When it comes to the beaches, there are a lot of things that people expect. We have lovely shacks around. Goan cuisine is something which people thrust upon. Come here to try, taste. There are a lot of foodies. And foodies are the new guys who come in and talk about places as influencers. A new space is being created. The type of press media spend we used to do seems to be obsolete, and it seems to be that the influencers and people on the digital platform are playing more of a role, trying to pitch on a place that somebody has never seen it. The Dudhsagar waterfall in my friend's constituency is one of the best locations. But then we are trying to make it into a circuit so that the excursions can be combined with somebody who's coming to buy some space here as a holiday, gets to go into the hinterland not only for a waterfall, but is able to stay there, do his activities, get into wellness, get into more adventure activities around the space. And if you talk about mining, where conventionally mining is to happen in his constituency, Savate, his neighboring constituency, Sange, now we are looking at whether we can get also adaptable to a lot of tourism activities in these areas. Alab has already spoken about the project, something being spoken about Selauli Dam, something about Anjune Dam, areas which are remote, because the type of traveler coming in today wants to shift, wants to go in. We are coming, and to give this a backbone, we are coming with very strong policies. Whether it's on the adventure front, whether it's on the homestay front, whether it's on the caravan policies, we are getting policies also right. We would like to push on for the homestay, because homestay and other ones are still irregulated. There are no regulations. We would call it illegalities. And those illegalities are turning out to be revenue leakages for the state also. So with proper policies in place, economically backward areas, which are very beautiful in terms of nature, in terms of adventure, if we are able to promote homestay in the right direction, having quality tourists come there, and that also standardize it with certain things which whether we have signed up with people like Oyo or Airbnb. Taj has come up with a brand called as Emma. Huh? Amma. Taj has come up with a thought called as Amma. Wonderful. I think things need to move out from that box, saying that conventionally we have to be here only. You have to come out and start thinking we can be everywhere. And that's how, as a government, we have offerings. You guys need to know the inventory of how we can pitch in. Government can come in as a facilitator. Government shouldn't be in business is something which our government strongly thinks about. As a place when we call ourselves a young country and we are a young state, we also come from, Ganesh and myself, both are from the business background. We also come from the industry. So we know the needs and requirement of the industry, but we know the limitations of the government also. And to create a win-win situation, it is something that we have been trying to channelize. First was the Goa Tourism Master Plan, then came the Goa Tourism Policy. Now through the Goa Tourism Policy came the Goa Tourism Board. From the Goa Tourism Board, now there are more things being announced. And right from making it an event destination to calling it a place where we can go in the hinterlands for ecotourism, we have a wide spread which we need to create. And this is exactly where we would request all of you to come and have a pitch to understand how we can create this new Goa, reinvent Goa in terms of talking about tourism 2.0. I'm sure today's interactive meetings will lead to a lot of fruitful thoughts which all of us can take together and work together on this. There are a lot more things that we can keep talking about. I think Alam in his presentation has spoken on a wide spectrum. I just pitched in where I felt should be some information passed to you as an industry. Very importantly, before I wind up, I would only like to say that the skilling industry is something which we as a government are trying to pitch and put across one unit in Farmagudi. Now all these things are happening under the initiative of our Prime Minister's vision and under the centralized schemes of Swadesh Darshan or Prasad schemes, which we are able to visualize and get in action mode. The challenge is to create this whole ecosystem of manpower requirement, of saying that we have the right manpower that the industry needs. We as a government, we can start with one initiative. I remember in my last tenure as a Labour and Employment Minister in 2017-18, along with Vincent, we had formed something called as the Goa Skilling Academy. And now these Goa Skilling Academy started tying up with the hotel industry, the pharmaceutical industry per se, and started moving around to ensure that we have small pockets which of 20-25 ticket size, which are continuously being trained, shop floor 6 months and office training 6 months in every category of the tourism sector where someone would want to be in. And that's how we started slowly inculcating more skilling, giving them apprenticeship, giving them a respectable salary at minimum wages to ensure that 1 year he is industry ready. Now this was done as a CSR activity by respective pharmaceutical or the hotel group. This is something I would like to put forward to you guys, saying that let's as a hotel industry also look at CSR activities being pitched back and ensure that how we can regenerate or review the gaps which we continuously can keep complaining about. I know there will be complaints, there will be issues, but we need to sit together and thrash it out. And that's only when the industry and the government can sit together, visualize what we want, work together and achieve the target which we both have. You as an industry, we as a government. I hope today's whatever things have been coming through as what we have spoken our thoughts out will be fruitful for our discussions ahead. Wishing you guys a happy stay for the people who have come in Goa. And to my Goan friends who are from the industry, let's work together towards reinventing Goa and starting with Tourism 2.0. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We would now like to have the open forum discussion started. Request Mr. Banerjee to please moderate this session.
Thank you, sir, for such a visionary approach that you have taken to tourism in Goa. Thank you, sir, Mr. Gaonkar, also for your vision. The macro picture is beautiful, it's absolutely wonderful. But there are many, many small micro things which I'm sure in this open house discussion they will come up. For example, even if the distance between one end of Goa to the other end of Goa is 99 kilometers, there are so many hitches on the way. If those are not looked into now, I don't know, I mean, they have to be looked into like the Porvorim hitch, the Madgaon bypass hitch, the Ghat hitch, last mile connectivity to the Mopa airport. If these are not looked at right from the beginning, and then there are so many other things that we need to look into. There's no lighting on the roads. I mean, it becomes so dark at night that you can always have accidents. Then the taxi issue, the beaches where they have found all sorts of rubbish. In fact, Mr. Advani has been saying that his people have seen fecal matter on the beach. And if that is so, which tourist is going to come to Goa? So in that visionary thing, you have to look to the small things as well. There are hardly any toilets. And if you have to have toilets, have pink toilets for the women. And these things will open up your areas and make it a visionary thing for Goa. So I wanted to also mention that now that you're going to increase from 6 million to 20 million, we have to think about carrying capacity. We have to think about how many tourists do you really want. That's also something which you need to think about, keep it up.